Hey, everybody. This is Mark Scheeren, and that is
Michelle Dunbar.
So the first movie is a banger. It's The Wolf of Wall Street. I loved the movie. Michelle never saw it.
Nope.
And so this should be fun.
Here, let me just explain that I haven't seen a lot of these movies because I have avoided addiction-based movies for the last 25 years because I just couldn't tolerate the lies and propaganda. But now, for educational purposes, I will watch.
And for entertainment.
And for entertainment.
All right, let's do this. So we're gonna
start with The Wolf of Wall Street.
I consume enough drugs to sedate Manhattan. I take Quaaludes 10 to 15 times a day for my back pain. Adderall to stay focused. Xanax to take the edge off, pot to mellow me out, cocaine to wake me back up again.
Interesting.
Yeah. So what you're going to see in this movie, this is something that I noticed when I watched it. It follows the classic sort of tragic story of drug addiction. And not everybody that does drugs ends up tragically in this position of jail. Sort of.
Actually, most people don't. Like the vast majority, just saying.
Yeah. So,
but he believes, I mean, this whole scene is about the mythology of drugs.
Well, it is. And it's interesting because what they're going to do is they're going to go through the classic buildup of the drug. And the drug already is being set up as the powerful force and the person as needing them to be successful, excited, and happy. And so what people don't realize is that movies are implicit expressions of the marketing of drug cartels, big pharma, and booze companies, and many other fetish industries, sex, that sort of thing, fashion, and they're giant billboards for these lifestyles and information. Unfortunately, when it comes to the drug culture or the booze culture, they're going to see the drug as being all powerful, the person needing them for these reasons, and then they're also diabolically bad. The person gets addicted,
right,
and falls to pieces. So the drug, this is a weird part, and if you think about this, it doesn't make any sense. And that is, the drug is seen as the cure-all for life's ills, but also destroys you. So if the pharmacology of a drug amplified all these parts of life, how can it also destroy them? And pharmacology can't do both.
Nope.
So it's obviously the person, but that isn't really discussed in these movies. So let's watch the first half of the movie as they amplify drugs into this mythical, magical status as a necessity for success and happiness and chaos.
All right, we'll go to the next clip.
Tootski. Mr. Hanna, you're able to do drugs during the day and still function, still do your job.
How the fuck else would you do this job? Cocaine and hookers, my friend.
So this is a really funny scene because it's obviously cocaine and hookers that make you successful. It's the only way
on Wall Street specifically.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So what a strange idea. I want to challenge this idea that it's necessary to have cocaine and hookers. And how does that equal investing properly and increasing the value of a stock for somebody you don't know? Right? That's a weird idea. When you start to break it down, you say, wait a minute, that doesn't make much sense. How did they connect cocaine and hookers to increasing a stock value? And obviously they're not connected. But in our book, we talk about learned connections. We actually have an entire chapter where we marry ideas and things in life to a drug or a drug experience, or in this case, a drug interpretation.
But it's such a high stress life. Of course, you'd need helpers, right?
Yeah. Cocaine and hookers.
Cocaine and hookers.
Because we know that really helps in life. So when we marry these cultural ideas that came from these big entities, drug cartels, big pharma, and obviously the booze companies. And then so many things are wrapped around those entities. And then they inject this idea that you need these products and services in order to be happy
And successful.
And so people don't question it. They just take it for granted. They think it's funny. And it is kind of funny, actually.
That is.
Now, Michelle and I have lived through this ourselves. We've done blow. We've drank and drugged ourselves right into jail and all kinds of fun stuff.
In the hospital. Yeah.
Yeah. Back in the day, a couple of overdoses each, and detox and stuff. So I think it's important to know that we've lived this mythology.
Mm-hmm.
So I understand it. I get it, but it doesn't make it factual and it doesn't really help life. All right.
Yeah. Next clip. Let me just say that Jonah Hill's teeth kill me in this. The way he smiles.
Let's smoke crack.
Smoke crack with me, bro. Fucking smoke crack. He's got the fucking crack with me, bro. One in. That's it, man. We gotta get out of here. Let's go fucking run. Let's run like we're fucking lions and tigers and bears. Let's run. Let's fucking run.
Oh my God. So I just have to say something.
Yeah.
I'm going to be honest. I have never smoked crack. I've done amphetamines. I've never smoked crack, and amphetamines were not my thing, but I do remember being with people and that whole, they personify that so well about how we acted back in the day. Like every drug you did, it was like, oh, this is the, but if you go into it very happy and excited and like it's drug set and setting, right? It's drug is this tiny piece, but the set and setting is everything.
Yeah.
And so this is his first time smoking crack. So Jonah Hill's character builds it up and builds it up. Yeah.
Yeah. So here's what's interesting. I have freebase coke 2 times and done a ton of blow, nasally. And
because that was the thing in the 80s, by the way.
It was. And the thing that you know about drugs is most people that do crack or freebase or whatever, they don't like it. There's this weird idea that immediately you get hooked. Everybody likes it. You're going to love it. You're going to keep doing it. And it's this sort of buildup in Hollywood and in health class and in movies and documentaries, calling it the crack epidemic back in the day.
Yeah.
All of this stuff created a culture. It created this idea, but it wasn't backed up with the facts. You had to be in certain places, set and setting, mindset and setting, in order for crack to be something that you could really fully enjoy. That's not to say that some people in the suburbs or that were affluent didn't get caught up in that culture. Of course they did.
Absolutely.
We've
worked with many.
Yeah, a lot. But numerically or percentage wise, for the people that tried it and then the people that had massive problems from it, the percentage is very low. It's also a drug that through time has a very short tenure in people's lives. It's one of the shortest. Methamphetamine and crack are very short, meaning how long you do the drug problematically in your life is short compared to, like, let's say alcohol.
Right. Which is the longest.
Yeah. And so it has a short tenure. 98% of problematic cocaine users eventually age out. So there are very few old crackheads, right?
Mm-hmm. There are those. There'll be people will be getting those comments.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
I know. So it's like you're going to see what you believe. You're going to see the narrative. If I tell you how many red cars are out in the street, you're going to start looking for red cars and you're going to see them everywhere. And the crack narrative was like that. If you're in the culture and you're going to crack houses, you're going to see that that really narrow band of heavy hardcore users. So that's going to fill the narrative of what you just saw, that the person does it and all of a sudden they're just crazy. I've watched people do tons of drugs, all kinds of drugs, and most of the time it didn't fit the narrative. They didn't like it, or it wasn't just what they preferred. Some did, but it's all across the board. So there's a spectrum. So this idea of a drug just hooking you is bullshit.
I want to say something quick too as we go through this, and that is, we're not bashing these Hollywood depicting we're not saying that there shouldn't be movies that depict this kind of thing. We're not saying anything like that. We don't even take a stance against substance use at all.
That's right. That's right.
Okay. So I just don't want there to be misunderstanding. The people that know the Freedom Model understand our position here, but anybody coming in new, we're just pointing out propaganda. We're pointing out misinformation and misrepresentation. That's it. And we're kind of making it's a little bit funny.
Yeah, it is. I also don't want to denigrate if somebody did fall into the crack world,
right,
and chose that for themselves and then got lost and felt addicted. I know what that's like.
Yeah, for sure.
I know what it's like to feel absolutely hopeless and suicidal and really lost. So we're not, but I also want to say that what got me there, what got her there, 35 years, 36 years ago, was misinformation.
For sure.
And this sort of thing that built the drug up into this magical substance. So we just want to challenge that.
Yeah.
And nonetheless, it's entertaining.
It is entertaining. What got us there was this combined with the addiction disease mythology. I mean, that's like the perfect storm.
That's right.
So, and we'll see that later in the movie.
That's right. There is no disease of addiction.
No. All right. We're going to go to the next one.
Let's do it.
We like to get as fucked up as possible during our business powwows in order to stimulate our free-flowing ideas, which is why we're popping these lewds like they were M&Ms. You know what a lewd is? I'll tell you. Wait. Looks like those lewds are working their magic on Donnie right now.
It's painful.
Didn't take long for people to start abusing lewds, of course. And in 1982, the U.S. government Schedule 1 them. And I can't even buy them anymore. You people are all shit out of luck.
So I had an experience.
We're shit out of luck, Mark.
Well, yes.
Damn it.
I did have the unique experience of...
I never did. I got into the game too late.
Yeah, I did have the unique experience of doing lewds once in 87. Buddy of mine had them. We were drinking at a place called The Quarry in Greenwich, New York, and just drinking all day. And I was sitting in a tent. I remember I was sitting in a tent with this bulldog by my side. Yeah, it was really fucking weird.
You and dogs don't get along.
Yeah,
he has a thing with dogs.
Yeah, they bite me. So
they do not like him.
So I'm drinking all day, and my buddy goes, "Hey, take a couple of these," and I didn't question it, and I ate them. And then I started cliff diving, and suddenly I found myself drowning because I couldn't move my arms. And so they pulled me out of the water after a nice sort of washing of my lungs. Ended up getting pneumonia after that, which was pretty unpleasant. But
so that sounds pretty magical.
That was magical.
I'm sure that was.
That was
damn.
That was my experience with Quaaludes. Don't do it when you have about a 12-pack in you,
and don't go cliff diving.
Yeah, it's a bad idea. So anyway, so this scene is really, it's perfect. It's again building up the drug. Look how romantic it becomes, but yet they're also showing that free flowing ideas. Right, here's the idea. This is so interesting and Martin Scorsese does such a good job of directing this because and the writers, you have. The drug is supposedly helping with ideas, right? And yet you can't even function.
Right.
But then they're going to show that he does come up with an idea. So it sort of gives credence to this idea that you're more creative. I call it the Hemingway effect. Everybody points to Hemingway was a drunk. He was incredibly creative. Well, we don't know what Hemingway would be like,
Right.
if he wasn't shit-faced all the time and giving credit to the drug instead of to his genius. So we tend to do that a lot.
Yeah.
And that's big pharma, right? That's the idea that the drug is the active, thinking, creative force, and ignoring that the human is the thing with sentience. It's the thing with the mind. So this is a classic case of giving credit where it isn't due.
It's confirmation bias is what it is. They have a belief that this is going to make them more creative and more come up with better ideas. And so when that, on the outside chance, when that does happen, the drug gets the credit when you have no idea that you probably could have come up with even different and better ideas without the drug.
And what's interesting about this movie is here's a bunch of yahoos who obviously are pretty damn smart.
Yeah, for sure.
But they were so caught up in the drug culture that they probably missed their true window of success, because a lot of them went to jail and it all collapsed, obviously, because their free-flowing ideas on drugs were pretty compromised. So,
okay.
$22 million in 3 fucking hours.
That's a lot of money in 3 hours.
Yeah. So the idea is he came up with this creative idea in the last scene, right? Free-flowing ideas on lewds. How much money? 20 million,
22 million
in 3 hours.
In 3 hours. In 3 fucking hours.
Yeah. So this scene is so well done, though, because it starts, and this is really good directing. It starts with the pop of champagne. It goes from one scene with the FBI officer, and it goes right to boom and celebration.
Yep.
So free-flowing ideas. The drugs obviously worked. Now another drug, champagne, to celebrate the moment. And all of this is the drug culture being promoted, endlessly promoted. And they were successful. But how successful would they have been without it? That's the question.
And maybe I was going to say, well, I won't give it up, but I know that the movie is about somebody that shysted a whole bunch of people. So
yeah, that's a good point. So,
I mean, as successful as they are, it was all funny money.
That's a great point. I didn't even really think about that. So they're scamming mothers, fathers, and other companies the whole time with insider information and all these corrupt things that they're doing.
So the only ones really making any money are them.
That's right.
Which is worth celebrating, apparently. All right, next one.
What he's trying to do? Exactly what he's doing. Look at yourself. He's trying to rattle you. He's trying to rattle your old lady. You know what he's trying to do? So she nags you until you become a fucking witness.
Or he wants me to rat on myself.
So she nags you and says, I know everybody downtown. I call up the Justice Department, the DEA. Nobody even knows you fucking exist, so calm down.
They don't know I exist.
He doesn't like that.
That's good. They don't know I exist. Information.
You don't fuck with these guys.
Was he talking about the FBI guy?
Like that? What are you nuts or something?
Yeah. You can get some information.
What do I pay you for? I have a fucking PI license, I make a living at this. I'm not a cop anymore. They'll take my fucking license away from me, all right? Okay. Jordan, do me a favor. The only one that calls this guy is your fucking lawyer.
I can't
know you do.
Right?
I told you.
Look at him.
Whatever the fuck you say, he's going to use against you. Don't you understand?
Good legal advice here.
Yeah.
He's smart, you're dumb.
You're going to get strapped. The last time you took these fucking pills, you put your head in fucking macaroni out to pick it up.
All right. Okay, I won't call.
All right, I won't call.
That was hilarious.
This is such, this is one of those movies that is, the more you break it down, the more you realize how good it is.
Yeah,
when I first saw it, I was like, I've seen a lot of movies like this, with the sort of criminal mind, smart ass guy, gets successful, is corrupt, but is funny. He's sort of the classroom clown turned really smart, turned successful, right? And so I went into it thinking I didn't have a high view of it. But the more I've broken it down, because now I've looked at these scenes several times, rehearsing for this, obviously. And God, it's really that there's a little nuance in that scene where where the PI says, nobody knows you. And you can see Leonardo go, oh, that you can see it bugs him.
Yeah.
You can see the arrogance. And then later in the scene, he's like, oh, I can't call, I go against the rules. And again, the arrogance,
He wants to talk to him.
he does.
He wants to be known by them.
And later he does.
Yeah.
He literally incriminates himself because he can't help himself because he's such an arrogant prick. And so then when
By the way, can we just say something about that? That has nothing to do with him liking substances. The whole recovery culture, the whole addiction mythology would tie those things together. Like all drug addicts are narcissists. They're all dishonest. They're all evil. None of that is true. So the two are not married. They're not there. I've met plenty of arrogant assholes who did not have drug and alcohol problems. That is not a prerequisite.
And I've met a lot of very humble, good, kind
Oh,
people who have
absolutely.
massive alcohol and drug problems and other fetish problems.
Yes.
That's a great point. So AA would really harp on.
Oh yeah,
somebody-
he's a typical narcissistic.
Selfish and self-centeredness is the root of our problems, is what AA would say. So they would pull in his whole personality type into this narrative that's what makes him an alcoholic or drug addict, which we'll see will blossom later in the movie. This whole addict identity takes over. Which is really sad and unfortunate because it just led to his demise. But then you watch this ebb and flow in this scene, this very nuanced scene, until when he doesn't get his way, when he can't make the call, what does he do? He takes pills.
Yep. He's so stressed out.
Yeah. He just doesn't get his way. So that's how he acts out. That's what he chooses for himself. And meanwhile, the PI is like, what is wrong with you? All right.
Next scene.
He was in Geneva, and there was no way I was going to make that flight sober.
Gonna make that flight sober.
Right, I could sleep through the entire flight, but I had to take them just right. At
Gonna make-
PM, I popped a few more ludes, which started kicking in by the time I finished my sales meeting, my tingle phase. By dinner, I popped a few more on top of some cocktails and a Valium or two, my slur phase. By 8:30, I took a few more ludes and pretty much lost all my motor skills. This was the drool phase. By 10, I didn't know who or what the fuck it was. The amnesia phase.
The amnesia phase, the
Blackout phase.
blackout.
Before midnight.
Oh my God, it's the license to misbehave on display.
Yeah, here it goes.
He's got his hand on my dick again. You got your hand on his
Gotta
dick?
stop in public places.
Oh my God, take it off. Take it off. I heard there's a treasure map.
Down. Okay, go back to your seat.
What are you upset about?
Please go back to your seat. Sit down.
All right, well,
Please sit down.
Do we want to watch this whole scene? Because it gets really terrible.
I want to ask you a question.
Fasten your seatbelt.
All right, we don't have to because we can tell.
You get the point. It goes even worse from here.
You gotta speak English.
So everybody assumes, right? So this is what this is depicting, is that the drunker you get, the more intoxicated you get from all these substances, the worse you'll behave.
or that you're allowed to
Mm.
behave like this. So you're going into it culturally that you're allowed to act like an
Right.
asshole and be abusive towards people and abusive towards women in this case, right? Also, this ends up where he can't remember, and
Right.
and he's strapped to the chair.
Oh, that's right. They strap him into his seat.
Yeah, so he comes out of the blackout, and this is a classic scene where because the excuse is because I don't remember, I'm not culpable. I'm not responsible for my behaviors. The classic blackout excuse.
Yeah. When I'm blacked out, I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
But here's the thing about blackouts. It is amnesia. He did call it that.
Yep.
The amnesia phase. You're still choosing. It's no different than if you get in a car, like you're totally stone cold sober and you get in a car accident and then you don't remember everything leading up to the car accident. Well, you were still choosing. You just don't remember it.
Well, it's interesting whenever people bring up the blackout. Well, I do things that I normally wouldn't do. And I believe that.
Well, absolutely. I did things I wouldn't normally do.
I did the same thing in blackouts. But if it were truly that you're out of control, your bodily and your mental actions will be completely random.
Yeah.
If you were truly out of control, you would be like an epileptic on the floor. But that's not what you are.
Mm-mm.
You're still behaving, choosing, acting out, doing whatever you believe you are allowed within the culture to do.
That's right.
Now-
People behave within the cultural expectations primarily.
They call that the within limits clause.
Yes.
Now, if you're inexperienced with drinking or drugging, taking lewds, whatever it might be, and you black out, where you have amnesia, you may act embarrassingly bad because you're taking the license to misbehave culturally, and then you have no good motor functions, your processor is slowed down, and you just don't know how to deal with that yet. You're not practiced
You're sloppy.
at it. Yeah, you're sloppy. But it doesn't mean you're out of control. You may be physical. That's true because the drug acts physically, but in your mental faculties, you're within a within limits clause. That also doesn't mean that in a blackout, you can't be taken advantage of because you're compromised. Your
Right.
processor's compromised and your motor functions are compromised. So you can be hurt, raped. All those things can be a legitimate, horrible thing that happens in the amnesia phase of drinking and drugging. So we don't want to go down the path where we're not sympathetic to what happens when you're hammered out of your mind and on the verge of an overdose, because blackout stage is basically right before you're overdosing.
Right before you're unconscious.
Yeah.
All right, next. And we're going to see, I think we're at that point, we're going to start to see a shift.
Yeah.
Right? Because things are starting to go really bad.
Right. We're going away from the romantic view into the diabolic view of drugs. Again, the whole point of the movie is that drugs are the operative force.
Relax.